Egypt is an amazing country with a rich and sometimes mysterious history. Under layers of sand hide terrible secrets that archaeologists try to uncover year after year. However, dark rituals, sacrifices, and mysterious symbols left their mark not only in the era of ancient Egypt. Some finds are so frightening that even scientists begin to think about the supernatural. Watch this video to the end. You will have something to discuss with your friends. Hi friend, you are on the KirTop channel. Eerie discovery under the floor. An ordinary day for Amelia turned into a real investigation. She noticed that one of the floorboards in her house was loose and decided to lift it to find out the reason. However, instead of a simple breakage, strange objects were found under the board. An old coin from 1904 and a small golden book. Opening the book, she discovered that the pages were unusually thick. Inside were old photographs, creepy images of the house, dark shadows in empty rooms, and mysterious portraits. Perhaps the house holds dark secrets of the past, or maybe the photographs have simply aged. However, Amelia herself was seriously scared by the discovery. She admitted that since then she has felt anxious and wants to know what other secrets her house is hiding. The oldest Masonic artifact. This brass square is one of the earliest Masonic artifacts in the world. It was found in 1830 under the foundations of Bayeux Bridge in Limerick, Ireland. It dates back to 1507, making it an important piece of early Freemasonry. On one side are engraved the words, "I will strive to live with love and care," and on the other, "according to the compass and the square." These phrases echo the key principles of Freemasonry: honesty, justice, and brotherhood. The square and compass are traditional symbols of Freemasons, associated with rightness of action and equality of people. How this object ended up under the bridge is a mystery. Perhaps it was laid as a symbolic stone of good luck during construction. In any case, this is a rare artifact that gives an idea of the origins of Masonic traditions back in the early 16th century. Pyramid of the oldest civilization. The Norte Chico culture, also known as Caral soup, is considered one of the oldest and most advanced civilizations of the Andes. It existed about 5,000 years ago and achieved significant advances in architecture, agriculture, and social organization. Archaeologists recently discovered a pyramidal structure about a kilometer from the sacred city of Caral soup in the Soup Valley, Peru. The structure is a quadrangular building with a wide staircase leading to the top. Its walls are decorated with massive vertical stones, huancas, which may have had not only structural but also ritual significance. In addition to the pyramid, the researchers found 12 public and ceremonial buildings located around a central plaza of almost 39 hectares. This indicates the existence of a small urban center with administrative and religious functions. 3 platforms were identified in the pyramid, which indicates a complex architectural tradition of the Caral civilization. At the Chupatzigaro site, archaeologists also discovered a unique geoglyph, made in the Scythian style. It depicts a human profile and is likely associated with rituals reflecting access to the region's marine and agricultural resources. The world's oldest runestone. Archaeologists in Norway have made a sensational discovery, possibly the oldest known runestone. Sandstone fragments with runes carved into them were found in separate graves at the ancient cemetery of Svingerud. Researchers have discovered that the pieces fit together like a puzzle, forming a single stone with a unique engraving. Runes are ancient letters used to write Germanic languages before the transition to the Latin alphabet. The origin of runic writing remains a subject of debate, but early alphabets were used before 700 AD. Dating the stone using radiocarbon analysis showed that it is between 50 BC and 275 AD, making it the oldest known runic monument. What is special about the find is that the inscriptions on the stone are an unusual mixture of runes and unknown symbols. The carvings may have been made by different people at different times, and the stone itself may have been reused. Researchers believe that it originally served as a memorial marker for one grave, but was later broken and redistributed among other burials. Zombie spiders. While exploring caves in Northern Ireland, scientists have discovered a new type of fungus that can hijack spiders and control their behavior. The fungus works in a similar way to the zombie fungi found in tropical forests, forcing infected insects to spread its spores. The study was conducted by a team led by Dr. Harry Evans, with the participation of specialists from the Natural History Museum of Denmark and the Royal Botanic Gardens Kew. The new species was named Gibellula attenboroughi in honor of Sir David Attenborough. Analysis showed that it parasitizes orb weaver spiders, forcing them to change their usual behavior. The researchers noticed that infected spiders left the walls of the caves and moved to the ceiling, which is unusual for these species. It is assumed that the fungus controls the nervous system of the victim, directing it to places favorable for the spread of spores. Seated burials and a children's necropolis. In the French city of Dijon, archaeologists have discovered a unique burial site of Gauls that is over 2,000 years old. The unusual thing about the find is that all the deceased are sitting facing west, a rare ritual known only from a few places in France and Switzerland. The excavations were carried out in the garden of an old monastery where archaeologists came across 13 burials. The deceased are sitting with their hands on their torsos and their legs folded asymmetrically. The burials date back to the period 450, 25 BC. Researchers suggest that these graves could have contained priests, chieftains, or members of the same family. Next to these burials, a children's necropolis from the 1st century AD was found, where 22 infants were buried, many of whom did not live even a year. Some children were buried in wooden coffins, as evidenced by the nails found. Coins and ceramics were also found in the graves, probably burial gifts. However, part of the cemetery was destroyed due to agricultural work. The reason for the sitting burial remains a mystery. One version is related to the belief in the afterlife. Perhaps the deceased were supposed to meet the other world in a special pose. Other researchers believe that this is part of a spiritual practice. The pose could symbolize meditation or eternal peace. This is confirmed by Celtic figurines found in different parts of Europe. Shaman burial. On the banks of the Tigris River in Turkey, archaeologists have discovered a 12,000-year-old burial site that may belong to a female shaman. Her remains were found in the Neolithic settlement of Chimka Huyuk. Skeletons of wild animals were found next to her: partridge wings, marten paws, goat or sheep bones, and an aurochs skull. Researchers suggest that the woman could have been an intermediary between the world of people and spirits. Shamans played an important role in ancient societies, conducting rituals associated with nature and supernatural forces. The burial was carefully sealed with a limestone slab, which may indicate fear of the possible return of the deceased. There is a version that she was considered special or even dangerous to society. Archaeologists will conduct DNA and isotope analysis of the bones to find out who she was, what she ate, and what role she played in her tribe. Tunnels that were considered a myth. For the residents of Cusco, this discovery was a real confirmation of ancient legends about underground passages and hidden treasures. Archaeologists Jorge Calero Flores and Mildred Fernandez Palomino reported the discovery of a network of tunnels under the city connecting the Temple of the Sun and the fortress of Sacsayhuaman. According to preliminary data, the tunnels date back to the late 15th, early 16th centuries. The engineering solutions used in their construction are amazing. Stone walls, similar to the famous Inca structures, are resistant to earthquakes, and a complex drainage system prevented flooding. The length of the labyrinth is about 1,750 meters. The depth reaches 2.5 meters. The tunnels have 3 branches. One leads to Calispucio, the second passes under the Church of San Cristobal, and the third connects to Sacsayhuaman. The purpose of these passages remains a mystery. Some researchers suggest that the tunnels were used by priests or military commanders for secret travel. Others believe that they had ritual significance. Small niches were found in the walls, probably intended for sacrifices. Although no gold or artifacts have been found yet, the tunnels themselves are a valuable historical discovery. Modern technologies, such as ground-penetrating radar, help to study them without destruction. Local residents actively support the research, considering the find an important part of their heritage. People of an unknown civilization. In the tropical forests of Brazil, in the state of Rondônia, archaeologists have recorded rare footage of people from the isolated Massaco tribe. This tribe, discovered in the 1990s, categorically avoids contact with the outside world and carefully guards its lands, setting up deadly traps made of wooden spikes. These spikes are so strong that they can puncture tractor tires. The Masako are one of 28 tribes in the Amazon that are completely cut off from civilization. Scientists have installed cameras in the jungle to study them without invading them. Researcher Algair has been monitoring the tribe since 1992, and thanks to his work, it has been possible to stop deforestation in their territory. Early attempts to contact isolated peoples often ended tragically due to outbreaks of disease. Therefore, the Masako rejected any offerings, tools, utensils, weapons. They left only sharp thorns at the meeting places, warning strangers that the invasion was undesirable. After the end of contacts and the protection of their lands, the tribe's population increased. In the 90s, about 90 people lived here. Now, 200, 250. Scientists have made maps of their paths and camps, recorded their nomadic farming techniques on satellites. The tribe burns down the savanna and then moves there during the rainy season. The Masako differ from other tribes in their long bows, up to 3 meters. Anthropologists still do not understand how they shoot from them. Their language is unique and not understood even by other indigenous peoples. Researchers note the number of Masako is growing, which means that sooner or later they will encounter civilization. But history shows that such contacts rarely end well. Barelek Cemetery. Yakutia, Barelek River. You won't find any shells or beautiful stones here, but you can stumble upon ancient tusks and skulls sticking out of the ground. This is one of the largest mammoth cemeteries on the planet. Thousands of bones, some thousands of years old, hold the mysteries of the past. Why did so many animals die in one place? The cemetery was first discovered in 1947, but the first serious studies began only in the 1970s. Scientists then suggested that mammoths came to the river in search of food, but the swampy banks could not support their weight and the animals drowned. Lighter animals could pass further without problems. Over 39 years, paleontologists have extracted more than 8.5 thousand bones from the ground, 99.5% of which belong to mammoths. At least 150 individuals have been found, but time, smugglers, and even ancient people have left their mark. A site was discovered nearby where our ancestors split mammoth bones to create tools and weapons. The latest research has shown that hunters did not come here by chance. They purposefully drove mammoths into this area. For 1,000 years, people regularly returned to this place, getting meat and tusks. This cemetery is not just a natural phenomenon, but traces of an ancient hunting strategy. Imagine, in 1,000 years, humanity has gone from nomadic hunting to space exploration. And in the past, people could return to the same place for centuries for the sake of survival. We will probably never achieve such stability again. Lacquer coffin. In 2018, archaeologists discovered a unique 700-year-old lacquer coffin from the Yuan dynasty in China's Jiangsu province. Its bright red surface was perfectly preserved thanks to a multi-layered lacquer coating that protected the wood from moisture and decay. Lacquer coffins were a symbol of high status in China, and their creation required complex technologies. The lacquer was applied in several layers and then polished to a shine. This method of preservation allowed the coffin to survive centuries with virtually no damage. The find is also important because the Yuan dynasty left relatively few burials, and this coffin can tell us a lot about the funeral traditions of that time. Creepy artifact in the garden. A routine walk with a metal detector turned into a creepy find. A California resident accidentally discovered a mysterious chest buried in a friend's garden. At first, he expected to find only small items like coins or bottle caps, but instead he came across a heavy metal box covered in strange symbols. When the men opened the chest, they expected to see something valuable, but inside there was only dirt and a few plastic flowers. The main concern was the SS emblem, the symbol of Nazi Germany. Among the versions, the chest could have been used by soldiers of World War II to transport trophies. Despite many theories, the origin of the chest remains a mystery. Who buried it and why? Why is there only trash inside? Perhaps soon historians will be able to solve the mystery of this find. Excavations in a powder keg. Archaeologists have discovered Paleolithic sites and artifacts dating back about 1.5 million years in the desert of western Iraq. The finds include hand axes and stone tools, shedding light on the early history of the region and ancient human activity. The research was carried out in the Al-Shabaka region, where geoarchaeologist Ella Egberts and her team studied ancient soil layers and traces of human activity. They identified 7 sites in an area of 10x 20 kilometers, as well as more than 850 artifacts, including stone axes from the early Paleolithic. There was once a large lake here, leaving behind dry riverbeds. Ancient people probably used the region for hunting and making tools. Scientists believe that further research will help to better understand how the landscape changed and which groups of people inhabited it in ancient times. The project involved Iraqi students studying geoarchaeology and Paleolithic studies. Despite the unstable political situation, the work proceeded without incident. In the future, Egberts plans to expand the research to reconstruct climate change and early human activity in the region. Sistine Chapel of Ancient Egypt. Here is one of the most stunning tombs of ancient Egypt, the tomb of Queen Nefertari, wife of Ramses II. It is over 3,200 years old and is often called the Sistine Chapel of Egypt because of its incredible paintings. Unlike many other tombs, this one amazes not only with its scale, but also with its bright, almost untouched colors. On the walls are scenes from the Book of the Dead, images of gods and Nefertari herself going to the afterlife. The Egyptians believed that such paintings would help the deceased pass the trials and achieve eternal life. The detail is amazing. Fine lines, intricate patterns, vivid colors, all this makes the tomb a real masterpiece. Unfortunately, many sections of the walls have been damaged by time, but restorers have managed to preserve its grandeur. Today, this tomb is considered one of the most beautiful in the Valley of the Queens and a true window into the world of ancient Egyptian art. Dog sacrifices. Archaeologists have discovered evidence of dog sacrifices near Wolsong Palace, which was the royal residence of Silla in present-day Gyeongju, South Korea. Silla was one of the 3 kingdoms of Korea, which existed from 57 BC to 935 AD. The city of Sorobol, present-day Gyeongju, was the capital where a crescent-shaped fortress palace complex was built. Human and animal remains, likely used in rituals, have previously been found at the main entrance of the palace. A recent expedition uncovered a circular structure on the outskirts of an ancient settlement southwest of the palace. Inside, archaeologists found the bones of 2 dogs, arranged symmetrically, as well as a knife, a wooden comb, shark teeth, and a crystal necklace, all placed in a wooden box. An analysis of the artifacts suggests that the find dates back to the 3rd century BC. Traces of fire around the area indicate that the site may have been burned after the ritual. At the time, the region was part of the Jin-Han Alliance, the predecessor of the Silla Kingdom. Frozen Scythian boot. This boot is a real artifact of the past which is more than 2,300 years old. It was found in one of the burial mounds of the Altai Mountains where it was perfectly preserved due to the permafrost. This is a Scythian shoe made of leather and decorated with intricate patterns, and the sole is strewn with bright beads. Such decor speaks of the high status of the owner. Most likely it was part of the outfit of a noble Scythian man or even a noble Scythian woman. The Scythians were famous not only for their military skill, but also for their ability to make things that could pass for works of art. Their clothes were not only practical, but also incredibly beautiful. Interestingly, the sole of the boot is also decorated. Perhaps it was a ritual element or just a desire to look stylish even after death. Mysterious house in ancient tapestry. The Bayeux tapestry is one of the most famous medieval works of art, illustrating the Norman conquest of England in 1066. However, it remains a historical mystery. New research has helped to uncover another secret associated with this unique monument. The tapestry, 68.3 meters long, depicts key events before the Battle of Hastings, including the assassination of the last Anglo-Saxon king, Harold II, by Duke William's army. Archaeologists have confirmed that one of the places shown in the tapestry actually existed, Harold's residence in Bosham, England. Using modern technology, researchers examined the structures beneath the 17th century building believed to have been built on the site of a palace. Radar scanning and analysis of old excavations revealed the remains of 2 medieval buildings and an important find, a toilet, indicating the status of an elite residence. Harold owned several estates, but Bosham was probably his favorite. The palace had moats, granaries, kitchens, and even servants' quarters. This discovery helps to reconstruct the life of the Anglo-Saxon nobility and confirms that the Bayeux tapestry is not just a work of art, but a valuable historical source. Why is a bottle of wine 750 milliliters? Why is the volume of a wine bottle 750 milliliters and not 1 liter? There are many theories surrounding this question. Some believe that this volume is convenient for a European family to have dinner with, while others associate it with the optimal storage of wine. Some argue that this is a historically established standard for glassblowers, while others are sure that 750 milliliters is simply a convenient volume for transportation. However, the real reason lies in the trade calculations of the 19th century. At that time, wine was actively exported from France to England, where the gallon system was used. 1 gallon was approximately 4.5 liters, and a standard French wine barrel held 225 liters. When divided into 750 milliliters bottles, there were exactly 300 pieces. To simplify trade, it was decided to count batches in this volume. 1 gallon was 6 bottles and a case was 12. This standard has survived to this day. In addition to wine, alcohol played an important role in earlier eras. For example, the Sumerians used weak beer, about 2.5% ABV, to disinfect water. And the first traces of wine were found in Georgia and Armenia, making them the birthplaces of winemaking. Interestingly, in the 1970s, the United States planned to switch to liter bottles, but research showed that 750 milliliters is the ideal volume for wine maturation. As a result, this standard became global, retaining its significance even in countries with a metric system. Mummy of a Yakut lion. In November 2024, Russian paleontologists completed the study of a unique find, the mummy of a Homotherium kitten that had lain in the Yakut permafrost for about 35,000 years. This is one of the rarest specimens of ancient predators that dominated vast territories for millions of years, from North America to Africa. Homotheriums were powerful predators, competing with lions, saber-toothed tigers, and even hyenas. They hunted in packs, and their fangs, although shorter than those of smilodons, were thicker and stronger, allowing them to pierce the skin of large animals, such as young mammoths. Unlike solitary ambush smilodons, Homotheriums preferred driven hunts, like wolves. Their powerful paws and developed chests made them hardy pursuers. The find from Yakutia allowed scientists to study the kitten's appearance in detail. At 3 weeks old, it already had a massive neck, a wide muzzle, and paws resembling skis ideal for moving through the snow. A comparison with a modern lion cub showed that Homotherium was stockier and more muscular. Despite its adaptations, Homotherium became extinct about 10,000 years ago. Their specialized hunting strategy proved ineffective in the face of melting glaciers and competition with primitive humans. Mysterious drink in a jug. The oldest distilled alcohol in China, dating back more than 3,000 years, has been found. This rare liquid, found in a bronze vessel from the Shang dynasty, proves that distillation technology appeared in China much earlier than previously thought. The owl-shaped vessel was found in 2010 in Tomb M, 257 in Daxinzhuang, Shandong province. Due to corrosion, it was impossible to open immediately. It was not until 2024, after careful restoration, that researchers were able to look inside. To their surprise, the vessel contained a clear liquid, which was preserved thanks to the tight seal. Analysis in a lab at Shandong University confirmed that it was distilled liquor. It did not contain the sugars and organic acids characteristic of fermented wine, but had a neutral pH of 5.8. This distinguishes it from previously known alcoholic beverages from the Neolithic and Zhou dynasties. The African continent is splitting apart. Scientists have found that Africa will split into 2 continents much faster than previously thought. In 2005, a 56.5 kilometers long crack appeared in the Ethiopian desert, which continues to widen at a rate of 1.5 centimeters per year. This is part of a large-scale process associated with the East African Rift Valley, a giant 3,200 kilometers long fault that appeared 22 million years ago. It was previously believed that Africa would split in tens of millions of years, but University of California professor Ken McDonald predicts that this will happen in just 5 million years. As a result, the Indian Ocean will flood East Africa, forming a new continent that will include Somalia, Kenya, Tanzania, and half of Ethiopia. The Great Lakes of Africa, which contain 25% of the Earth's fresh water, were formed precisely because of the tectonic fault. According to former NASA consultant Alexandra Doughton, these processes are ongoing, and over time, East Africa will completely separate, forming a new ocean. Modern satellite data and seismic scanning confirm that volcanic activity in the region is increasing. In 2018, heavy rains led to the formation of new faults in Kenya, and locals felt tremors. Experts also believe that Madagascar will eventually split into two islands. Although these changes are imperceptible on a human timescale, earthquakes and volcanic eruptions will become more frequent, marking the birth of a new continent. Mysterious Tomb 157. During excavations in the eastern part of Croatia, in the settlement of Raseza, archaeologists discovered a mysterious medieval burial site called Tomb 157. It attracted attention due to its unusual location and strange ritual features. The tomb was located under the floor of an ancient church along the southern wall, and on the remains of the deceased lay massive stones, which, according to researchers, could have been placed there specifically to prevent his possible resurrection. This fact, as well as the special position of the body, led to the assumption that the burial is associated with the belief in vampires. Anthropological analysis showed that the remains belonged to a man aged 50 who performed heavy physical labor during his life. However, the most mysterious thing is the deliberate damage to the skeleton. His torso was directed downwards and the head was separated from the body. Such unusual burial practices were previously encountered in Europe and were often associated with the fear of the dead who could return to life. The historical context also adds special significance to the find. The settlement of Roches existed from the 13th to the 16th century and belonged first to the Templars, then to the Hospitallers, and later passed into the hands of local nobility. Archaeologists have discovered 181 burials here over 15 years. Some graves contain traces of non-standard burial rituals, including decapitated bodies and dislocated bones, which testifies to ancient superstitions and fears. An analysis of historical sources confirms that even after the adoption of Christianity, belief in evil spirits continued to persist in Slavic countries. Ancient cemetery of trade caravans. Archaeologists have made an important discovery in the Negev highlands, a 2,500-year-old ancient burial site that sheds light on trade routes of the ancient world. The artifacts found confirm that the region was an important hub linking southern Arabia, Phoenicia, Egypt, and the Mediterranean. The excavations revealed the tombs of traders who crossed the desert, including merchants who carried frankincense, myrrh, and valuable goods. Among the finds were arrowheads from Yemen, jewelry, rare shells, and tools for processing frankincense. Of particular interest is the amulet of the Egyptian god Bead. Its presence may indicate human trafficking in ancient times, as is confirmed by historical records of the Minutes merchants from Yemen who acquired women in Egypt, Gaza, and Greece. The burial site is located at a strategic crossroads of ancient routes leading through the desert. New secrets of Egyptian funeral practices. For the first time, scientists have conducted a detailed analysis of the pink and white paste used to seal coffins in ancient Egypt. The study has shown that these substances had different compositions and performed different functions. One of the first samples studied was the coffin of Pakapu, a priest and keeper of burials in Thebes who lived about 2,700 years ago. His wooden coffin, stored in the Fitzwilliam Museum at Cambridge University, consisted of two parts, an inner and an intermediate coffin sealed with special compounds. Analysis showed that the pink paste was used to fill structural gaps and the white served as a base for painting. Interestingly, a layer resembling papier mâché was found in the inner coffin, a multi-layered composition of linen and plaster, similar to those used for burial masks and mummy shells. The main component of both pastes was calcite, obtained by grinding limestone. However, the inner coffin used a purer material, which confirms the special attention paid to the structure that was in direct contact with the body. The pink paste, containing iron impurities, was coarser and served technical purposes. Its granular structure helped prevent shrinkage when drying. The diversity of compositions indicates that different craftsmen worked on the coffin, each using their own method. Glowing in the sun. During the exploration of an ancient burial complex in southwestern Spain, archaeologists have discovered the remains of women buried in ritual clothing decorated with thousands of beads. This unusual attire, according to scientists, was evidence of the high status of the owners and was used in special ceremonies. The burial, which is about 5,000 years old, is located in Valencina de la Concepción, an archaeological site near Seville. Excavations have revealed the largest collection of beads ever found in a single burial. In total, researchers studied more than 270,000 beads made from seashells, stone, and bone. One burial in particular stands out, the Ivory Lady. Her jewelry was likely associated with marine resources and trade routes of the Copper Age. According to the researchers, the mother-of-pearl beads shone in the sun, enhancing the visual effect of the outfit. Scientists believe that the beads were part of tunics, skirts, or capes strung on fabric, traces of which have been preserved. Researchers note that to make such a quantity of beads, a team of 10 people would have been needed, working for at least 7 months. The scale of the work is impressive and indicates the complex craft traditions of the time. The oldest 3D map in the world. Archaeologists have discovered the oldest 3D map in the world, which is 13,000 years old. It was carved into quartz sandstone in the Ségonolé 3 cave shelter in France, and according to the researchers, is a schematic representation of the landscape of the Paris Basin. According to the analysis, the map shows the relief of the terrain with the designation of the directions of water flows, which was critical for the people of the late Paleolithic. According to anthropologist Anthony Milnes, for ancient people, knowledge of water flows was more important than modern concepts of distance and time. An important discovery was that Paleolithic people did not just record the landscape, but also deliberately changed it, creating artificial channels in the sandstone to manage the flow of rainwater. The creators of the map deliberately opened cracks in the stone to direct water through the settlement. This proves that already 13,000 years ago, people had an engineering mindset and a deep knowledge of hydrology. Archaeologists also suggest that the carved channels could have had mythological or ritual significance associated with water and ideas about nature and life. Ghosts in Jamaica. Sometimes a little truth and a generous helping of myths are enough to make a place truly legendary. This is how the story of Rose Hall Mansion, one of Jamaica's most famous landmarks, unfolded. This magnificent house, located on a hilltop overlooking the sea, hides dark secrets of the past. The mansion was built by plantation owner John Palmer, who named it after his wife Rose. During the plantation era, Jamaica was a place of brutal slave exploitation, and the fate of many of them was connected to this house. But the real legend began when John Rose Palmer became the owner of Rose Hall together with his young wife Annie. According to legend, she grew up in Haiti, where she was raised by a voodoo priestess. It is believed that Annie used black magic to subjugate slaves and get rid of husbands. They say she poisoned 3 spouses and executed unwanted slaves by locking them in the dungeons of the mansion. According to legend, she was killed by her own slaves and her body was walled up under the house. Since then, the ghost of the White Witch supposedly roams the mansion. Today, Rose Hall is an 18th century museum where spiritualistic sessions and tours are held. The atmospheric place attracts both lovers of mysticism and connoisseurs of history. I'm glad that you watched this video to the end, and I will be grateful if you write a kind comment under the video. This helps in the development of the channel. Thank you for your views. Bye, everyone.